Red Bull has had a strong start to the season, but they are aware that their dominance may not continue in the upcoming races in Jeddah, Australia. Verstappen had a commanding lead, while Perez outperformed Leclerc with his strategy and pace. However, Red Bull's advantage may not be as significant on track like Jeddah and Melbourne, giving Ferrari a chance to regain momentum. The start of the 2023 season was challenging for Ferrari, with Leclerc experiencing reliability issues and Sainz being outpaced by Fernando Alonso in the green RB18. Additionally, Hamilton nearly overtook the smooth operator despite struggling to regain downforce in his car. This was not a promising sign for the upcoming races. However, it seems like Ferrari's issue will not be present in the upcoming race in Jeddah. One major challenge for the S23 was tire degradation, which prevented Sainz and Leclerc from lasting as long on the hard compound tire. This is why the RB19 was a strong competitor for long-term pace. However, there is one factor that worsened tire degradation at Ferrari, but this won't be a problem in the next race, and that's the abrasive asphalt. Since the introduction of the track to Formula 1 in 2004, the asphalt in Bahrain has not been changed, resulting in maximum abrasiveness, while cars with higher downforce settings, such as the RB19, did not struggle to compete on this type of track. The SF23 found the Bahrain Grand Prix to be demanding and challenging race for their tires. It is worth noting that tire degradation has been a problem for Ferrari throughout the 2022 season, even on tracks with fresher asphalt that were not as tough on their tires. The exception was in Austria, where Leclerc and Sainz were able to last double the time that Verstappen did on the same tire compound due to a better suspension. Qualifying laps at Bahrain Grand Prix are also important to consider, especially because Ferrari was faster than Red Bull. If we examine the data from Bahrain Grand Prix more closely, we can see that even though the Austrian team secured the front row for Sunday's race start, Ferrari had a better qualifying pace overall. The SF23 was faster in more parts of the lap. However, Verstappen managed to outperform Leclerc in critical areas around the circuit. The RB19's downforce was one of the reasons why the two-time champion dominated in a single lap performance. For instance, Verstappen gained more time on Leclerc in high-speed turns like turn 7 and 12 and had a much better acceleration out of the tricky turn 10, where drivers tend to lock up on entry. In contrast, the morning gasket tend to gain most of the time down the straight into turn 11. The rises is an interrogating question. Is Red Bull no longer the fastest car on the main straight? Previously, Red Bull dominated this area, especially on tracks like Miami, where Verstappen was simply flying and was faster by up to 30 km an hour compared to Leclerc. This season, however, the story may be different, and it seems like the RB19 will be more competitive on tracks that require a higher amount of downforce, especially on those with medium and high-speed corners. Leclerc's SF23 reached a top speed of 298 km per hour, which is 3 km an hour faster than Verstappen's RB19. This is the opposite of last year's story, where Leclerc struggled to keep up with Verstappen on the long straight. Verstappen has improved his speed, entering the braking zone at turn 13, thanks to the RB19's impressive downforce. But this advantage is short-lived, as of the SF23's low drag setup and superior acceleration help it gain speed as it enters turn 14. Although Verstappen's acceleration is 6 km per hour faster than Leclerc's, the Monegasque is able to catch up quickly and ultimately performs better on the final timing line. Despite unexpected results in the 2023 season, we must look towards the future, and the next race is only a week away. Ferrari is optimistic about their chances at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, the fastest track on the calendar, with corners that are entered and excited at full throttle. Friedrich Vasseur, the team principal for Ferrari, is confident they will address their tire degradation issues in the time for the Jeddah race. According to Vasseur, a fast car in qualifying must also be fast in the race. It's not a matter of concept. We are confident in our direction and the developments we have in the pipeline. He also addressed the reliability issues that prevented Leclerc from reaching the podium in Bahrain, stating that during the 6,000 to 7,000 kilometers of tests, this type of problem did not arise, although the team initially suspected of battery issues. The upcoming Jeddah circuit, with its unique asphalt structure and increased load on the front tires, will present a new challenge for Ferrari to address in the second race of the season. Ferrari is hoping to avoid the Bahrain curse that plagued them last year when Verstappen failed to finish the race but went on to win the championship. However, relying on witchcraft alone will not be enough for the Maranello team to hope for a successful outcome. To catch up with the flying Red Bulls ahead, Ferrari must step up their game. Meanwhile, Verstappen and Red Bull also understand that Jeddah will be a much greater challenge to overcome than Bahrain, and the competition will be much closer. If this turns out to be true, we may see slower Aston Martin as well. The MR23 take the most of its inspiration from the RB18, the 2022 Red Bull Challenger that was true engineering masterpiece. The two-time world champions spoke about the upcoming race, saying, "So it is quite different track to Bahrain. You have a lot more straight fast corners and a lot less degradation. We were particularly good on the deck, so I do expect everyone to be closer in Jeddah in terms of race pace." With this in mind, it's going to be very interesting to see how the RB19 will go against the SF23. Right now, it seems like the Austrian team will face a proper challenge holding off the Maranello team with the next two races favoring their fierce rival. Keep in mind that the Austrian Grand Prix was vastly dominated by Ferrari last year, with Leclerc nowhere to be found ahead. On top of that, the F175 suffered from extensive porpoising. These tracks are known to be easier on the tires due to their asphalt composition and have less demanding downforce requirement. Therefore, Red Bull will need a strong setup to compete with Ferrari, and perhaps even Mercedes. We can expect a close battle ahead. However, one thing that could potentially impact the outcome of the race in Jeddah is the engine penalty that Leclerc may face due to his failed engine in the previous race. In the worst case scenario, Leclerc may need to take new components, having already reached the limit of available electronics units, which would result in him lining up 10 places behind his original qualifying result. If this happens, we can only hope that Leclerc will challenge Verstappen in a fair and a square battle like the Dutchman did in 2022. As of now, it seems like Red Bull's dominance will be challenged by the nature of tracks and the performance of the SF23. This makes for an interesting race ahead in Jeddah, or niche for regular Formula 1 fans. What do you think will happen next for Red Bull after Ferrari's strong performance in Bahrain? Can Leclerc and Sainz show Verstappen that the season is far from over after just one race?